Welcome to Grow Organically, the podcast where we host candid discussions with wealth management and financial pros. Each episode, we break down factors that drive growth at wealth management firms and how organizations can continue to be forward thinkers in today's competitive landscape. Grow Organically is brought to you by Catchlight. You can access all our podcasts, including show notes and other resources to keep learning, at catchlight.ai. Dan Gilmartin is the host of Grow Organically and is the head of marketing at Catchlight.
And welcome back to the Grow Organically podcast. I'm your host, Dan Gilmartin. I'm very excited to have my friend Michelle Winkles on the program today. Michelle is a partner and CMO of Mission Wealth, where she's been for 8 years. Michelle, tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, your path to mission, and some of the work that you're focused on today.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for having me today. Sure, I'd be happy to. I grew up in Southern California. I'm a California girl, and I moved to Santa Barbara to get my bachelor's degree at UCSB in communications. And after getting my bachelor's, I started working at a large software tech company, and I was there for a little over 11 years. I did a lot of hands-on marketing roles, such as trade show coordination, event planning, campaign management, advertising, sponsorships, and such. And I traveled a lot in my early 20s. I met so many amazing people along the way. And in 2016, I just believed that my opportunity for growth had stalled. And I really wanted to do something that I was more passionate about with more purpose. I wanted to be in a leadership role somewhere where I could truly make a difference. And so I decided to leave without another job. And I just started my master's program full-time in Santa Barbara at Antioch University. And when I was there, I focused on a triple master's. I studied entrepreneurship, strategic management, and philanthropy. And this program really helped me grow in so many ways. It created a lot of connections in the community. And one of those connections happened to be Mission Wealth. And through all of the great nonprofit support that they do in the community, we connected. Janelle Stewart and Seth Streeter from Mission reached out to me during my last semester at Antioch, and they were looking for a marketing director to lead their initiatives at Mission. It would be the first time they had somebody in marketing and someone to lead it and help them grow. When I joined the firm, I was focused mostly on client communications, building a new website, creating collateral, and just overall branding, everything you would need to really start marketing for an RIA. Fast forward 8 years, I'm now a partner and I'm CMO, and I am a part of our leadership team. And today, my focus is primarily on organic growth. I do everything such as advisor marketing, management, and improvements to our marketing tech stack, develop our digital marketing growth channel as a source of new business. I direct strategic campaigns. I do a lot of M&A marketing integration tasks for advisors and new firms that join us. I'm very involved in PR and media, client communications, events, and everything that we'd call marketing today.
So it sounds like there's not much that you're not involved in. You've got a hectic schedule and busy days. Well, thank you for the background. I love the origination stories and how we all have found our way and our path to this industry. And thanks for, we're talking about organic growth here, but I know that Mission is driving a lot of growth through M&A. And we'll get back to the organic side in just a minute, but would love to hear a little bit more about how you're involved on the M&A side.
Sure. Well, at Mission Wealth, we have what we like to call a mergers and integrations team for M&A. We do not simply acquire firms. We integrate them in and we welcome them to our family. We are 100% employee owned, and we're passionate about continuing to expand our ownership group with individuals that are excited about building a firm of permanence with a thriving team culture and caring client service approach. We do have a team that focuses primarily on M&A, but each member of our leadership team does have a part in the integration process. And for me, what that means, it involves meeting the firm's team members and deciding if they're a good cultural fit first. For both sides. I take part in what we call vision sessions to inform them of how marketing could support them and if they were to choose to merge with us as a firm.
Got it. And as the As the firms come into the fold at Mission, can you talk a little bit about the work you're doing with those firms to help drive their growth?
Sure. Well, we do a lot to help acquired firms with their growth, and maybe I should say merged firms because we don't like to use the
Merge.
word acquire. But the marketing team handles the marketing integration tasks. We introduce them to something we've created called our AMP program. So that's an advisor marketing program. And we create an online presence for them in our website and on social media. And if one of the advisors from that firm has a specialty niche of clients that they want to attract, we'll help them develop a more defined business development program so that they can grow organically. And that can include anything from defining who their ideal client profile is, showcasing stories about the clients that they serve, creating digital lead gen campaigns for them, maybe coordinating client or prospect events for them, and highlighting their nonprofit involvement and whatever else they're passionate about. Lastly, we have a shared library of resources that we've created for all of our advisors to use. And this is everything from one sheets to modules, presentations, email campaigns, just everything to help them be more efficient on their day-to-day process.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate having all that content in one place, a repository of sorts to make their lives a little bit easier. You talked a little bit about working with those merged firms on lead gen programs. So let's transition to a conversation around your funnel. You and I have had a chance to chat and meet a number of different times, and I think you've got a pretty sophisticated lead gen program specifically focused on organic growth. Could you share some tips for some folks that are starting to look at creating their own lead gen program at their firm?
Sure. Well, I don't want to give away all of our secrets, but I can offer some tips for those looking to build or improve their digital lead gen program. I do believe that you need to consider 3 important foundational rules before you start to drive any kind of top of the funnel growth. So first, I do believe it's important to have your website set up for success. You may not realize it, but everybody is going to look at your website, and it creates a strong first impression of who you are. You need to clearly define what it is that you do, who you serve, and how you do it. It is important to have the website funnel your leads properly. You have a lot of visitors come to your site for different purposes. And so, hey, does your message speak to all of them? Think about it. You have COIs, financial consultants, clients, prospects, job applicants, potential advisors or firms that may want to consider working with you. And you want to make sure to help each of those audience members achieve their goal. So give them a way to do that. Next, you should have a strong marketing tech stack. At Mission, we try to automate everywhere we can for efficiency and to save time. And when people come to your site, what tools are you going to use to connect with them? Think email tools, text tools, phones. Do the leads and communications you make with them sync to your CRM or your marketing automation program seamlessly? Or is this a manual task? Is it going to take a lot of time? Once they sync, you need to create a program that automates those tasks and communications accordingly. It took us over 2 years to build this piece out, and we continually analyze our data and refine our processes. So when you start to generate leads, you just really want to make sure that you have the right business development tools and a plan to help you succeed. Now, I did mention earlier that there's several types of people that are going to come to your site, and each of them have a different goal. How will you know who they are when you get a new lead? How can you determine if they are truly a qualified prospect? Are they high net worth? Do they have high intent? You want to use some kind of sophisticated software tool to help you filter people to the right teams for follow-up. Utilize that data to prioritize and customize your follow-ups. You need to create a clear follow-up plan once you get the lead. And we have all heard about the term speed to lead, getting to the lead before everyone else. That was the stats we've heard in our industry. You got to get to them first. But I've discovered it isn't always the best idea. If I could leave you with the most important thing to think about in regard to lead follow-up, I would really just say today it's thinking about a more personalized, thoughtful follow-up in a method that's preferred by the lead. Is that email, text, or call at the right time of day, and give them something that speaks to them, possibly based off their interests, while showing you're credible, trustworthy, and a great advisor for them to work with. Sounds simple, right?
Yeah. Just do it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Build your new website. Make sure it speaks to the audience. Love it. Tech
Mhm.
stack. I think a lot of
Mhm.
folks struggle with that one. But then the workflows and personalization of the workflows. I think
Mhm.
you're spot on.
Yeah.
Leverage data you can in a way that helps you start to initiate and build those relationships. So
Yes.
so you sort of walk through the aggregation, the flow of data through the different tech components of what you're using and that engagement. So, but let's go up a level and
Mhm.
just talk about the top of the funnel. What are some of the ways that you're doing? What are the tools, techniques that you're doing to drive that top of funnel growth?
Sure. Well, there are many ways to get leads in our industry today. I mean, you can buy them from demand gen partners. You can run paid ads on search or list yourself in directories, advertise on social media, ask your clients for referrals. That should be the simplest, most effective way. You can join a custodian referral program. You can, develop COI relationships and more. But for this purpose of this call, if we hone in on digital marketing and top of the funnel growth, I would say that organic search has been the best conversion for us. We've seen higher rates with those types of conversions. It's been the best medium in the sense that the leads are more qualified. They have high net worth and they have higher intent. So it is key to make sure that you're searchable and you have content that is SEO optimized and relevant to your target audience. We spent a lot of energy getting all of our locations verified as official business profiles for search. And since we did that, we've seen an uptick in leads. We continually work to build up those locations for SEO over time. And there's many ways to do that. But definitely you want to make sure to post updates to your locations, to those business profiles, share content, and get reviews for each office that you list. This all helps you rank higher. We also want to make sure that our website pages and content that we create are SEO optimized to rank well in search results. And there's a variety of programs that you can use to help you with that optimization part. And to drive top of the funnel growth, I suggest creating something called lead magnets. And what a lead magnet is, it's an assessment, a blog digest, a subscription to a newsletter, a downloadable guide, or events to help fill the top of your funnel. It's key here to think about what differentiates your firm and your advisors from other firms. Prospects are going to do their own detective work and determine who they relate to the most, who they trust, and who is most credible.
Love that, and in particular the business profile that you're working with your firms to create. People are going to go to the search engines. They're going to search for whether it's wealth management and perhaps the town or zip code where they are, and making sure that you show up in that right rail. Critically important. You touched on something interesting at the end there, and I want to talk about this a little bit. It's a differentiation. There are a lot of firms out there, hundreds of thousands of advisors. And we had a guest on the podcast. I think it was episode 3 or 4, something like that. Kristen Luke, who wrote a wonderful book, and really it's about niching. And her premise is that define that niche that you're going after, and really be the expert in what somebody is looking for within that niche. But you talked about differentiation there at the end. Curious if you have any advice for firms and that are looking to differentiate. What might they do? How might they do that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I have been hearing a lot lately about niche specialization. A lot of RIA marketers and thought leaders are talking about this, and it's definitely something I'm going to be focusing a lot more on in the upcoming year. I believe that if you want to distinguish your firm from others and attract new business, you really should consider this concept of niche specialization. Advisors and the firms that they're a part of, they can build credibility and attract and target specific clients by focusing on a specific profession, interest, or life event. It is beneficial to determine who each advisor's ideal client profile is. If you can find a way to organize each advisor's client data to show exactly who their clients are, meaning things like their interests, profession, hobbies, geographic location, age, sex, education, things like that. You can take that data and see if you have any clusters. Do your clients have any distinctive similarities? Just something to step back and look at. And this could become a unique micro niche that an advisor or firm serves. You could take this data and create marketing materials to attract more clients like the ones you already serve. And lastly, I really think you could benefit here by having deeper, more relatable conversations with clients and prospects that fall into these clusters. Your next task will be measure how much that cluster grows over time.
I love that. If there's a specific segment, I know a firm down in the Washington, D.C. area that focuses on 1 minute transition. There's a firm that focuses on airline pilots. So, and they're going to have very similar challenges, very specific needs. So I think that's a really important opportunity for firms and advisors to go after. I want to switch gears back to the top of funnel. I love that topic myself. And you talked about SEO, website traffic. You talked about lead gen programs, things like that. How would you rank those sources? And as you think about ranking them, do you base that ranking based on meetings booked, or do you look at conversion rates? How far down the funnel do you look when you're thinking about the sources that are coming in top of funnel?
Okay. Yeah. Fortunately, we've had a lot of introductory meetings booked this year. I've created a dashboard in our CRM program where we can look at, different data points. When I do review our meetings booked by source in our dashboard, there is a differentiation there. We've purchased a higher volume of leads from demand partners this year, but they did have a lower conversion rate for us overall than we had hoped for. However, these rates are very similar to the industry averages that I've heard about. Since we do not have an equal number of leads from each source, I do lean more on ranking the sources by conversion rates instead of meetings booked. So to date, we have the highest conversion rates with organic leads, like I mentioned. Then I would say local SEO from those business profiles, lead magnet type of campaigns, and then paid leads from demand gen partners.
Got it. Love it. Love the clarity there in the sources, and also the notion that given the differences in volumes from one source to the next, looking at that meetings booked KPI might be a little bit challenging relative to the volumes coming through. So using conversion rates, which is ultimately what we're trying to do as a business, is drive that conversion and have that transfer of asset happen. So let's transition from there into maybe mid funnel. So you get a lead; they're coming in from the various sources that we've talked about. How do you decide when a lead is ready for a phone call? When is it that you're going to say, okay, I have an advisor or perhaps a BDR going to start to do some outreach or perhaps put somebody in a nurture campaign?
Okay. Well, first we need to figure out who they are. We use Catchlight to run the lead's name and email and score them before adding them to our digital funnel. I really only like to have qualified MQLs in our funnel. I don't want to just fill it with anyone and anything, right? So once we know who they are, we look at how they came to us. If they came to us through a lead magnet, let's say, our goal is to get them to express interest in a meeting. So we add them to an engagement program or a drip campaign to encourage this goal to happen. And if they come to us from a form or expressed that they're looking for an advisor and they want to talk to us, we still run them through Catchlight to score them and see what else we can learn from them prior to reaching out. They get a personalized call and a text. And if we do not get a hold of them, that's when they enter the engagement program. And we have a new goal for them to book a meeting. So we try to be thoughtful of their time, needs, and personalize the message in the process. And it's important to abide by their requests. If they state the time of day and method of communication they prefer, it matters to them that you listened.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're using Catchlight as part of the middle of the funnel. So thank you for that. You mentioned before leads coming in from I think it was lead gen providers, and you talked about speed to lead. As those leads come in, really any channel in particular, but as they're coming in, you need to make a decision. on what the next best action is on any given prospect. Are you calling everyone, sending a nurture? How do you distinguish who you're gonna call? I know you're doing some scoring, leveraging our platform, which I appreciate you doing. But how are you thinking about what's the next step for that lead as they come through? Putting them in a nurture versus making a phone call and so on.
Right. Well, there are a lot of different ways to look at your leads data to determine the next steps, but really it starts with your marketing tech stack. We use a program that scores the lead's engagement, like how interested they are in us based off their activity online. That's a part of our marketing automation program. But then we combine that with the use of Catchlight to score the lead's net worth and interests. So you can look at both of these scores next to each other and review the data on the prospect to create a personalized message to them. So you can see and, you can prioritize based off of those numbers, who should I focus on first? Who's really interested in me and who is really good for me, right? When you look at how engaged they are, it tells you how likely they are to be a client, and you can use that data to help you prioritize your leads. If you're a really large firm, you may be getting a ton of leads. You may have thousands of them, and you're like, where do I even start? That's where you can start. If you're a smaller firm and you only get a couple, I'm sure you're just going to call everybody. You might not need those scores. You're just going to call them as they come in. But we do use a combination of nurture tactics, including calls, texts, and emails, and any other forms of communication to try to show the prospect who we are, what we do, and then we want to connect with them. Finding the right cadence and meeting them where they are at the right time is the biggest challenge for us. Because what works with one lead may not always work with another.
So, that's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot to digest, but there's even more work to be done there. And when I've gotten to know you, I've always thought like you probably have a team of 10 to 15 people. I don't think that's quite the truth. So could you tell us a little bit more about your team? The work they do, and how do they? What does the team look like from a functionality perspective?
Well, Mission Wealth has an amazing 4-person marketing team today, and we're looking to hire a 5th. Yeah,
only four doing all
in
this work,
addition to
Michelle.
myself. Yeah. We're looking to hire a 5th. We do have an open position today online, but everyone is focused primarily on a segment, and we've set up a growth path for them for the future. One team member focuses on B2B and M&A marketing, another on B2C and advisor support, and another on digital and business development. So each one of them is empowered to do all the marketing functions necessary to support that growth segment. In the past, we did have a marketing team where everyone focused on individual marketing functions. Like someone would do websites, someone did all emails, someone did all events. But as we grew, we really needed everyone to try to do everything or learn to, so that there were not bottlenecks. This way, we could all have a benefit. Each person can really understand their segment's marketing strategy and work with other department leaders to perfect it and support them. And as we grow more in the future, we can build teams around them as the work increases or our focus changes.
Awesome, love it, and it's amazing the amount of work that you're getting done with such a small team. So let's go back to KPIs. We talked about conversion rates before, specifically on organic. Do you have a single or maybe 1 to 2 most important KPIs that you track to measure success? Like if you were to sit down with your CEO or the leadership team at Mission as an example, what are the few KPIs that you're focused on that show the health of the programs, show the health of organic growth?
Yeah, there's so many helpful KPIs to measure. But for organic growth through digital marketing, it would be new clients converted from the activities we pursued, right? For me, the most important KPI to measure success for our team is new client revenue over the total spent. So I look at that as digital marketing won opportunities this year. We want to make sure we convert more in annual revenue than we spent. So you can look at this annually or over time. Some people look at it, you can spend a lot this year and invest in that and you see the numbers over a certain amount of years. But I'm currently just tracking it by year. And then I look year over year. So this is shared along with a dashboard of many reports beyond, I think, what most people would measure. But this is shared with our leadership team.
Well, data is insight. So, and I know you're tracking a lot more. We've had conversations about it, but I like that, the notion of what's my revenue in divided by the cost to acquire that revenue. So, love that one. So last question for you, Michelle. And I ask all my guests this one. So, if you knew then what you know now. You've been at Mission now for 8 years. What would you have done or started to do differently 5 years ago?
Well, I guess I would say knowing how long it takes to build out a digital growth channel, 3 to 5 years. It could take many, and it still continues to evolve. I think I would have started on this sooner. I was building out the website with the team 8 years ago, but I wasn't building it with the thought of digital growth. So yeah, that would be my biggest thing, is really start on this sooner. And then second, I believe it is important to track and measure everything to make data-driven decisions, not just guess. So if you can do this, I would suggest, report on everything and try to make decisions on that data. If I had this intel many years ago, I would have had a lot more data to look back on and could have made better decisions, but it's all trial and error, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's an evolution, and you are where you are now because of some of the success that you've built over the last 8 years. Well, Michelle, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and the Mission business and everything that you're doing behind the scenes. So really appreciate you being on the program today. And wish you continued success in your role at Mission Wealth.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Grow Organically podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit catchlight.ai, where you can access all our podcasts, including show notes and other resources to keep learning. This podcast was produced by Catchlight Insights, LLC. It is for informational and educational purposes only. The content of this podcast does not constitute an offer or recommendation of any securities and is not intended to provide tax, legal, or investment advice. The views expressed are those of the speakers and not necessarily those of Catchlight or its affiliates, and are as of the date indicated, based on the information available at that time, and may change based on market or other conditions. Catchlight does not assume any duty to update any of the information. Catchlight and other third parties mentioned in the podcast are independent entities and not affiliated. Catchlight does not endorse any investment advisor or provide advice or recommendations to any prospective or existing client of an investment advisor as to the selection or retention of that investment advisor. The information is not intended for any person or entity in any jurisdiction where the distribution or use of such information would be contrary to local law. Third-party trademarks referenced herein are the property of the respective owners. All others are the property of Catchlight Insights, LLC, copyright 2024 Catchlight Insights, LLC. All rights reserved.